From the Dallas On Air studios in beautiful Dallas, Texas, this is Fulfillment right here on DallasOnAir.com. And now here's your host, the Vegabomber, PJ Dunn.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 9. And giving the tradition of today, which is Mother's Day, we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about films, but a little bit of a different twist. I think last year we did do the Mother's Day edition based off of the great moms in movie history. But today, that twist is going to be, we're going to talk about the different kinds of moms. These would be the kinds of moms that are certainly not picture perfect. In fact, they're downright repugnant, disgusting, and every other negative word you can think of, because they'll use neglect, they'll use abuse, they'll use overprotection, and just straight up manipulation to mess your life up. But the good news is these are mostly fictional characters, so they were just something.
So they're perfect for the pictures that they're in. That's the thing.
That's right. As you can imagine, if Kazak is telling you something there, you know it must be horror film related when he says something. So that's what that's coming from. And we love him just the same. So with the crew here today, to my right is John E Flix. Say hello to the folks.
Good morning, everybody.
There it is. And then that big booming voice from behind the camera, sometimes on camera, Kazak.
Greetings and salutations, campers, working at DallasOnAir.com.
That's right. So if you're watching, and you've been watching, or if you're new to the channel, what we usually like to do first is we get into a segment that we like to call Just Seen It. This gives you a chance to see what kind of things we like to watch when we're not on camera, and might tell you a little bit about our viewing habits. So we'll start off with Just Seen It. And the Just Seen It film I've seen, which was something that I've been wanting to see for a while, just hadn't gotten around to it, Johnny, was One Night in Miami. So This is an original film by Regina King, who most of us might remember her in her role as Ice Cube's sister in Friday, right? But this film was created, and it was basically it's on Amazon. So it's the fictional account of what happens if you put Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown together on an evening. And what it kind of reminded me of is 12 Angry Men, but just 4. But what's interesting about this is it's all about how each one of them's lives intersect and cross, even though they're known for something great. And I would say that the standout actor here is Leslie Odom Jr. as playing Sam Cooke. So you have all 4 of these powerful black men in the middle of the civil rights. One's a boxer, that's Muhammad Ali. One's a football player in Jim Brown. One's that classic singer in Sam Cooke. And the other one is Malcolm X, who's trying to right what he sees as the civil rights movement that needs to be better, needs to be moving forward. So here are all these men. They're together, and they're played wonderfully, even though I think Leslie Odom Jr. just, because he could sing too, so he could actually do the live shots where he's in the Copacabana singing. So this actor had even that much of it down. And so it was great because, as you understand, you know, Malcolm X was trying to recruit Muhammad Ali because he became Muhammad Ali. And so there was the whole tension between, well, should I do that or should I not? And then there's Sam Cooke and Jim Brown going, why do you want to be Muslim? Right? And what does that mean? And you know, your granny went to church like with my granny, and we know, right? And so you have that thing. Then you have this thing of how each one makes it to the top. And they're like, well, you're still, you know, you think you're great. What are you doing for civil rights? What have you done? When have you ever sang a song, Sam Cooke, about this? And so you get all this stuff that happens before in real life when they actually do start to take that stand and say, let me use my profile to speak towards it. So there's a moment where Muhammad Ali is mad at Sam Cooke, but then Sam Cooke's mad at Jim Brown, but then Jim Brown's mad at Muhammad Ali, but you see the different takes of these men, and they don't leave very far. They stay in this basically this hotel room, and they're either there or they're on top of the roof. And so here are 4 very different kings, if you will, African American men who were killing it, crushing it at their time, and they're dealing with, do I say enough? Have I said enough about my community? How can I just go leave my community, go play football, and then act like I don't know, and all this stuff? And so they all deal with it in a different way. So Regina King, this is her, I think her directorial debut.
Yes.
She did an awesome job with this. And again, I'd like to see more from her. So have you seen this, Kazak?
I have not. I know Regina King by reputation alone. But again, like I said, I've heard wonderful things about the film. I've heard, I know she got the Oscar buzz and things like that. Some really great nominations and things like that. So, and it seems like an interesting confluence of characters that you'd really want to see together in conversation, even though it's not a historical document, but it's just kind of a theoretical look at these four men who were very, very prevalent at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You have Muhammad Ali, of course, coming right. How far is it after his transition to Islam?
It's actually before it.
Okay.
So he's struggling with whether he should do it or not. And
Okay.
Jim Brown and Sam Cooke have other thoughts about it.
So he still Cassius Clay.
He still Cassius Clay. Yep.
Okay, interesting. So again, it's an interesting kind of confluence and where these guys are at in their lives at this point.
Yes.
So, and of course, Leslie M. Jr. I've heard that Oscar song. He's amazing.
Ooh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's hard to do justice to that particular voice.
Oh my gosh.
Sam Cooke, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Leslie Odom Jr. here is basically like Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man in terms of playing Sam Cooke. It's
Really?
that good. Like you don't want to see anyone else play Sam Cooke after this.
Okay.
Because he's that good and just the tension here is so good because it shows each of these men, like it gives you one shot of each in the beginning. So you see Cassius Clay actually in a ring fighting, and then you see when he fails, and you see when Sam Cooke fails. Leslie Odom Jr. fails at the Copacabana where people were bored with him and they think he's not singing very well because they only want to hear that one song. And then they show you when Jim Brown was catching a lot of heat for trying to get into movies instead of playing football, and they thought that'd be a big distraction. And then, Malcolm X, and he's sitting here saying, I'm having problems with the Nation of Islam, but I can't say it because things could be really crazy wonky. So they catch all these guys where they're rising still before they hit it. And then here's this conversation that you have between these four men, and you actually kind of want to see it. So this is that question that people ask when they say, hey, if there were four people you wanted invited to your dining room table just to have a conversation, if you could go back in time, who would they be? Well, this is almost kind of like maybe Regina King's or someone else is saying, I would love to have these four guys because I never knew them. And then if that were the case, this is a very real depiction of what they would talk about, more than likely, because it's set in that time in the 60s for sure. So, wonderful. I would tell anyone it's worth watching. Question?
Name of the show again?
It's called One Night in Miami.
Okay. And it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, and it's an original piece.
Very
so
cool.
It's not a remake or anything like that at all. And so Regina King is flexing her directorial chops here. So, man, good
Sounds
idea.
really interesting.
Yeah, I would say it's a good
I'll have
watch
to check
for
that out.
anyone. Yeah, it's a good watch. I think people should check it out. What have you seen, Johnny?
Ooh, yeah. For me, I watched Without Remorse.
I wanted to see that. Michael B.
Yeah. So I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I grew up reading Tom Clancy novels.
Oh, okay.
And this is not his novel at all. So that's twice now that Amazon has produced something based on Tom Clancy and just thrown it all out the window and done their own thing.
Oh,
so they're
wow.
basically just using the names.
Okay.
Now, having said that,
Okay.
I did enjoy watching Without Remorse. It's a well done film. There will be a sequel to it, Rainbow Six. And that's
Okay.
kind of exciting in several different ways. But Without Remorse was Tom Clancy's introduction of John Kelly, who becomes John Clark.
Okay.
There's with the novel, John Kelly was a SEAL in Vietnam. Now everything's been updated, so he's fighting in Iraq and dealing with Russians now. So
Okay.
totally different story. Similar motivations. Where I was a little disappointed. Some personal background. I do have some experience being in special operations, so watching even just the opening scene, I was kind of like, okay, come on, guys. There's so many excellent examples of films getting that right.
Like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, and for modern military operations, especially in special operations, we're talking about extreme precision and timing.
Yes.
And that opening scene, they're going in on a hostage rescue, which doesn't happen as often as people think.
Okay.
But they bust in a door, and there's a solid second before the flashbang goes in, and everybody's just standing there. There's no shooting. Everybody's just kind of looking at everybody, and I'm like, that is, come on.
Right.
They're talking about how these guys that they go in on are trained Russian soldiers. They wouldn't just stand there and stare at them. They'd be shooting. And,
right.
There's a solid couple seconds there that nothing's happening. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you almost lost me there. Having said that, the rest of the film is actually really entertaining. I'm hoping that with the second film, they'll dig a little bit deeper into John Clark, because a lot of it ended up being, kind of a lot of bragging, but not a lot of showing why he was supposedly the guy to go to.
Yeah.
So, Amazon, pick it up just a little bit. Otherwise, you got it,
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah. How about that? Well, come on, Amazon. Come on. You can't do great with One Night in Miami and then do something like this. That's kind of crazy. What have you been watching, K-Zach?
Okay, so I found one on HBO Max, and I kind of went into the vault on this one.
Okay.
Because this year marks the 80th anniversary of the Maltese Falcon.
Oh.
If you have, this is when you say a defining movie, this is really the defining movie. If you love mystery, if you love film noir, if you love Bogart, if you love intrigue, just great, gritty filmmaking, this is it. The directorial debut of John Huston. Warner Brothers had made this film twice before, gone down the tubes. This one, they really, really get it right. It's carefully storyboarded. Every shot is just perfectly planned out. You have such amazing characters. And I mean, these are characters on screen that are just magnetic to watch. Sidney Greenstreet as the Fat Man, making his debut on film at 61, just looming large over the whole screen because of the way they film him. You have, the way they play in color and shadow and things like that. And just watching, the tragic woman in distress, smart characters, and just, it's not the film where a lot happens, but it's a film where everything happens, especially in the dialogue, because it all starts to open up.
Okay.
And of course, you just get that defining performance from Humphrey Bogart as Sam Spade. Defining the role that was made famous by Dashiell Hammett. Hammett, of course, bringing that great story out into the open, and you just see it open up more and more, and you see the pain in these people's faces, and you see the characters just come to life. It's such a good film, and after 80 years, it really still holds up as one of the greatest mystery films of all time. So it's absolutely worth watching again. I mean, I know it's a slam dunk. I know that everyone who's out there who watches films has seen this film, but again, you go back and you watch these classics because they're amazing reminders of what really good filmmaking is.
Thank you for saying that. And also how good movie posters can be.
Yeah.
Those classic movie posters from the 60s were awesome too in a lot of ways. The only thing that wasn't as great maybe back then was maybe the trailers, but everything else was pretty good. But yeah, to your point, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, and it's a movie I definitely would watch again.
Yeah.
And
it's you absolutely go back and you get, that great hard-nosed performance from Humphrey Bogart, and you get, that great character work from Peter Lorre, and you just get, underlings and intrigue and things like that. It's just so good.
Yeah.
So
unadulterated.
So it's worth watching the classics to see, because again, this is the film that launched, just every great detective film out there, every great film noir film. This is the base thing that you look at films and go, this is the starting point, and it's a really great one too.
Yeah, it's where we got the Millennium Falcon from, right? The Maltese Falcon? No, just kidding.
Something like that. George got it from somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, the whole space battle, it was amazing.
Yeah, so good, Well, that's great. So again, what have you guys been watching? What did y'all see out there? So comment in the comment section. Let us know. So with that, we're going to jump into our main topic of the day. Since it is Mother's Day, we're going to start talking about some mothers, but not that kind of mother. These are the ones that you have to shut your mouth when you talk about these mothers, because they're just that bad, right? So, Johnny, we'll start with you. We'll just take we'll take one of yours and go around, and then we'll do 2 and then 3 that way. So, one of the worst moms, TV or movies?
Okay. I was going to try to avoid TV shows, but
Right.
I couldn't this time because
I'm with you on this.
absolute worst mother of all time on anything, TV or movie, has to be Olivia Soprano
Oh,
from The Sopranos.
oh.
There is absolutely nothing ever good or redeeming about this woman.
Oh my God.
Ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely manipulative and destructive of her entire family and everyone around her. Just mind-blowing. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, who tries to get her son murdered by his own uncle? God, and then all of the manipulations to just tear his family apart. You know, all the little barbs at the wife and the kids, even, and all of the complaining throughout the entire show.
Oh, just kill me now, Tony.
God, if he had. And so, one of the ones that I've been looking forward to is this. My mind, I can't think of the name of it. All of a sudden, they're doing the new show with young Tony Soprano. So I'm wondering how that's going to fit into this.
I'm curious.
I'm really curious about that. But yeah, God,
one of my favorite lines in that movie is when Meadow Soprano, Tony's daughter, is in the car and they ask about, oh, your sweet grandmother, she must be so sweet. So what is she into? And she goes, negativity.
Yeah, I can't think of a more toxic person in general in anything I've seen.
Yeah.
Zach, you got any that you think are more toxic? Oh, this is going to be interesting.
You want to go? You want to go with me? All right. Well,
you're asking a horror movie guy that.
This is true, but I mean,
let's see. Well, we'll start with the one that I had to refresh myself on last night because I just had to be reminded of how bad this one is. And like I said, there are a lot of great, terrible horror movie moms. You could have gone with Mrs. Voorhees. You could have gone
with Joker's mom.
You could have gone with Joker's mom. You could have gone with Piper Laurie as Margaret White
from Carrie. Yep.
But I decided to go with Mommy Roberson from The People Under the Stairs. Oh, if you haven't seen this Wes Craven film, you haven't seen possibly one of the worst women in horror movie history. She and her husband, Daddy Roberson, they never really give them names, have been kidnapping children from the poor community and the ghetto community for years. She throws her daughter, and I'm going to use that in quotation marks because we're past spoilers at this point in this film. But
I think so.
She makes her clean up spilled blood, and right before she throws her into a boiling bath. And like I said, all these kids that they've been kidnapping, once they do something, they talk back. They say something wrong, say something unchristian. They're mutilated, tongues are chopped off and thrown in the cellar. You have cannibalism, you have abuse, and of course, you have overt racism in the fact that these are two landlords who are basically destroying the ghetto to try and build up condominiums. Everything about these people is just completely unfrigging redeemable. And to just watch when the children finally escape, exact their revenge, it is absolutely well warranted. And I mean, just watching this actress just go completely off the rails. I think Wendy Robbie or something like that. Just Wes Craven gives her a lot of rope in this horror comedy. But I mean, wow. Just completely over the top to watch these two maniacal, greedy, super Christian religious nuts who basically run a house of horrors in an old funeral home. It's just frightening to watch the most horrible parents on film ever. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one as my opening gambit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to save my number one because it's a titular character, a titular performance, and all that. So I'm going to start with my number 3 and go forward. And so with that, this is one that you probably don't think much about, but once you watch the movie, because the movie's comedy, that sort of thing. But this would be Catherine O'Hara playing Kate McAllister in Home Alone. Now, we watch this film. We like to see Macaulay Culkin and Youngling do like this, and Joe Pesci and them get beat up, and it's kind of like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote in terms of the bonks and the conks and all that kind of crazy stuff. But my question is, in terms of being a mother, how are you gonna leave a kid at home while you in Paris and then do it twice because you did it again in the sequel? What kind of mom are you? What kind of mom leaves a kid at home and goes, "Oh, we don't have one of our children here"? Now, of course, in the first one, she tries to come back and all that, but it's the actual fact. Kate, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't count? Yeah, you got a couple of kids, but you can't count? And you left the youngest one alone to fend for himself, and you did it twice.
And the most obnoxious one. You don't miss the obnoxious one.
Yes, you don't miss the obnoxious kid. So there he is at home, shaving, and he ain't got nothing to shave, and all this craziness is going on. And you in Paris going, did I leave the light on? No, you left the child home. That's what you did. So she did it twice. And so I'm sorry. I had to go there because I just thought this was just too funny. But where are you?
Maybe the unused boarding pass was a clue.
Yeah, just something, The fact that when they're calling your family's getting on the plane, and you just don't do a head count normally to see who's getting on the plane. Who doesn't do that? But anyway, that's
an
Kate,
entire
you bad.
family of neglect.
Horrible, just horrible. What about you, Johnny?
Oh, okay. So my second worst mother. I hesitated to put this one on the list because she has such a tiny, tiny, tiny role.
Okay, all right.
But it's Marilyn Batson from Shazam.
Oh,
Horrible movie.
Yes.
But what mother? She literally looks at her kid as she's abandoning him. She's watching him getting carried away by the cops looking for her. That's horrible. And then when he finds her, she literally shuts the door in his face to stay with this abusive guy that she's with. I mean, that's all you get of her.
Yeah.
But come on. So the reason I bring this one up is because we do talk quite a bit about some of the superhero films, right?
Right.
And there's always a parental component to the superheroes, right?
Sure.
Batman is an orphan. He loses his parents. That's that pivotal moment for him,
right?
That changes things. And then you've got, Superman, where he's got good moral figure that's supposed to give him
Kent and Martha,
these ethics about how he's supposed to help people, and then you get into Shazam and he clearly doesn't have the guidance.
No.
And it's aimed directly at the mother that literally has abandoned him twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So had to go ahead and
You had to throw in there,
her.
yeah. Miss Batson, you are fired as a mom. Fired, fired, fired. Don't even come back. Don't even pick up your stuff. Just leave now. Okay? Okay, Zach.
All right, so I'll go with my number 2. Again, we go direct into horror, and for this one, I chose Vera Cosgrove from Brain Dead, a.k.a. Dead Alive.
Oh.
Okay. So we start with this woman who we come to find out later, basically she's a single mom, but she's been manipulating and holding her son basically hostage from having a normal life, from having any sort of dating life, social life, anything like that. Everything revolves around her, to a point where he goes on a date with a woman. She stalks him, and in the process of stalking him is bitten by the Sumatran rat monkey, which turns her into a zombie. Now it gets worse because once she's as she's slowly deteriorating, she refuses to give up her social engagements, but she's deteriorating the whole time, up to the point where blood is squirting into pudding. It's an amazing scene, but it gets so much worse because again now the son is obligated because of his love of his mother and is protecting his mother because he can't kill her.
Right.
He doesn't want to, so he's been filling her with animal tranquilizers. But of course, once these tranquilizers wear off, the zombies start roaming around. They become even more troublesome. And I mean, mom just bites more people, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, up to the point where you have the final scene where the zombie virus is carried out through this entire party in New Zealand, and finally it gets to the point where mom is the last zombie there, and of course the zombies have been hideously mutating, so now she's transformed into this gargantuan zombie creature who is now conscious and is completely evil, and to come to find out that she actually killed his dad for having an affair, and quite literally to bring him back sucks him literally into the womb. I'm not talking figuratively, I'm talking literally, as this gargantuan creature sucks him back to the womb to keep him trapped before they finally have to blow up and kill them. She's absolutely positively just watching her manipulate her son into this horrible set of circumstances up until the point where she's past dead into just this amazing, just vile toxic relationship. It's absolutely one of the worst moms on film of all time, because again, in this really wonderfully gory zombie movie, played by Elizabeth Moody, who just portrays vile very well on screen. And of course, this is a Peter Jackson film, who he's great with getting characters' faces and things like that. So you have this woman who plays the life up, but she's just absolutely horrible to her son, and just watching her deteriorate. It's a fun movie, but dear God, is it a toxic relationship?
Oh gosh.
If you've not seen Dead Alive, it's just a movie that, as one of my friend puts it, it's just a film that gets worse and worse and worse. And one of the things that makes it worse is this toxic relationship with his mom. It's just a zombie film that just doesn't get better as it goes. It gets worse.
Oh, so it's like the sequels. Oh, awesome. So it gets worse and worse and worse every time you watch it.
It just never stops.
Yes.
Thank God there wasn't a sequel to this one, because I don't think you could have stood it. It's quite literally one of the goriest horror films of all time.
Well, that this is funny when we talk about this, because I was making the joke with Kazak earlier that if you hang around long enough with some bad writing and everything else, you can even turn great moms into bad moms. And so that's what happened in the sequels, because all of a sudden Princess Leia now, after we loved her in 4, 5, and 6, all of a sudden now in 7, 8, and 9, we just know she's absentee mom, and her little jerk son Ben Solo, who becomes Kylo Ren, who wants to emulate his granddad, because nobody seems to tell him that his granddad went to the light side. But that's okay. We got to make Princess Leia a bad person now, because she's a bad mom, because she ended up helping to produce Kylo Ren. But anyway, that's just an aside. I just had to throw that in there, because as you know, It's exhausting, just like some of these moms, and so is
Precisely.
so the sequel. So there's a commonality here. So my second one here, I'm going to go with one of my favorite actresses of all time. This would be Kathy Bates as Mama Boucher in Waterboy. So again, almost picking up from a theme from Carrie with Margaret White. Here's another fanatical, fundamentalist type mom, but in a funny way they're trying to show it in the movie. But once again, the results are not that good because you see an overprotective mom who blames everything on the devil. I remember when Bobby Boucher said, "Mama, tell me about Benjamin Franklin when he created electricity." "What? Benjamin Franklin didn't create electricity? I did. Benjamin Franklin is the devil. And why are you playing foosball and all that stuff? You're going to get bad grades if you try to play foosball because you know school is." "Yeah, I know, Mom, the devil." Yeah, so, I mean, so she's got that same type of fundamentalism, but she's overprotective of him and then at the same time manipulative of him. So you get to see this guy who wants to play football and everything. And Bobby Boucher, while it's all played up for laughs, it's only funny because there are real mothers out there that play that same card. And so with this end, we could talk about that in the sense that one of the things that you'll see in all of this is that the moms are manipulative, they're overprotective, they're condescending, they're straight up, they're abusive, and then they could be neglectful, right? And if you have that combination, it will produce a bad mom, or actually bad any character, but moms, because of the sainted place that we put them in, because the other side of that, moms can be the greatest things in the world. We talked about that last time on Mother's Day, but here, look at the themes that are popping up in terms of manipulation and neglect and abuse, right? And overprotectiveness. And look what it's creating out of some of these characters. And we can talk more about that. But for me, I just thought, you know what? As funny as this turn was, and I need to put two funny ones on this list because my number one is absolutely got to be considered one of the worst moms ever because it actually was based off of a true story that they argue wasn't really that bad. But we'll talk about that. That's coming up. So let's go, Johnny, to your third one there.
My third, I had to go with something a little more humorous.
Okay.
So I picked Delia Dietz from Beetlejuice.
Catherine O'Hara pops up again.
Yes.
Yeah, she does that very well, doesn't
strikes
she?
twice.
Must be the redhead thing. But
Yeah.
There goes our redhead audience. Thanks.
There they go. You're getting some hate mail,
Johnny.
brother. It's coming from Twitter. It's coming from Instagram. It's going to come from YouTube. It's going to come from your Facebook page. You are marked, dude.
Both of my kids are redheads.
So
you know, I
so
know.
he can say
I know.
We're trying to help you, Johnny. We're trying to help you.
Yeah. I'll keep digging. So
Just because you can dig doesn't mean you should. Learn
Right.
from Spider-Man. No, go ahead.
So yeah, again, we got the very neglectful and very narcissistic mother. But I love, I love the humor used to
Okay.
kind of take her down a notch throughout the film. So, gosh, I actually haven't watched it in a long time, but God, I mean, if you want to watch a very toxic mother kind of get her, dues, that's a good one because it's not nothing horrible happens, but
Right.
And I mean, she's a completely self-absorbed socialite
Yes.
who takes everything over, her daughter.
yep, and
Wants her to act normal.
the dinner scene is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about it. Tell me about it.
Oh gosh, man! Like I said, I haven't watched it in forever, but
But it sticks out
but
because it was
it does stick out because you got the ghosts played by Alec Baldwin and golly,
Gina Davis.
Gina Davis,
Yes.
thank you.
Mhm.
Who start messing with all of the dinner guests and the parents, making them dance and sing. That was just.
Making holes in his
I mean,
energy.
growing up as a kid watching that, I mean that was hilarious in the first place, but watching it as adult is rather
unsettling.
not quite where I was going with
It's
it.
unsettling.
It's more satisfying.
Oh, okay, we're going there.
But I
Yeah.
mean, we
She's horrible.
we had an off-screen conversation when we were talking about going into the show, and Katherine Herring comes up again and again, not just because she's a phenomenal comic actress, but because you brought up as one of your examples her role from Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Yep.
So again, talk to me a little bit about that one, because again, she's a really, really toxic mom in that show tw
Oh my God, isn't she? Yeah. Yeah, that was when I watched a few months ago, and she plays again. Horribly toxic mother, extreme narcissist.
Yeah,
And
sure.
literally everything is about her, to the point that her kids are adults that cannot function in society without her.
Yeah.
And everything she does is a manipulation of them at all levels, you know.
Yeah.
Literally locking herself in a closet at one point because she's embarrassed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was definitely a good example of a toxic mother.
Yeah. Katherine Herring just comes up again and again on this list because she's just so good at playing that part. You know, she's a genuinely wonderful human being, but the roles that she puts in, because she plays it for comedy so well, she's just so wonderful. She plays self-absorption so wonderfully.
Yeah, and her facial expressions when she's doing it are amazing too. I can still picture that at the dinner party in Beetlejuice, because
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Huh?
I don't want to talk about that anymore. And then she goes right into the lip sync.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Zach?
All right, so my number one. We went thriller this time. I had to go with Eleanor Island from The Manchurian Candidate. You want to talk toxic moms?
1962.
1962. Oh yes.
Right? Yes.
You want to talk about toxic moms? Okay, she's a communist agent who desires to be who only is a communist agent because she desires to be in control of the highest role of the highest level of government on the planet. So she winds up having her son. I mean, we're past spoilers on this. She winds up having her son kidnapped and turned into an assassin by the Red Chinese. She turns him into an assassin to have her take out her enemies. Finally, she turns him into an assassin to her most hated enemy, who just happens to be, after he elopes, his father-in-law, and winds up killing his father-in-law and his daughter. She manipulates, and she just keeps going because she's trying to manipulate her husband into becoming vice president and having his running mate assassinated, so he instantly ascends to the presidency. All this,
Wow.
and he winds up killing them both because he says the government couldn't stop them, so I had to.
Wow.
So if you watch Angela Lansbury in this role, she is cold. She is calculating. There is no love in this woman. She is just everything to become in control, to have as much power as she possibly can hold, because not because she has any real kind of mythos or even political philosophy. It's just basically she wants to be in control, manipulating her her drunk bastard husband, manipulating her her.
So she's kind of like Palpatine.
She's exactly what I was going to say.
She's 20 times worse than Palpatine because she's manipulating. She's a very real type. She's a very real type person, because you see these people who absolutely want power at all costs, even at the cost of their loved ones, even at the cost of their friendships. Everything revolves around them and their lust for power. And,
Like Thanos, huh?
Yeah. The Thanos, Palpatine, they ain't got nothing on Eleanor Island because, like I said, you have a mother who absolutely could be capable of love, could be a wonderful, could be a wonderful wife and a wonderful and a wonderful mother to her kids, and she's not. She just basically, she's absolutely self-endorsed, enamored, basically just wanting control, and doesn't even want to be the power on the throne. She wants to be the power behind the throne.
Yes.
She doesn't necessarily need the credit, but she wants the control.
So she's like the Desperate Housewives.
Yeah. I get you keep bringing it up. Yeah, all these terrible character traits coming out in this one woman. I mean, you really, and it's Plague to the Hilt by Angela Lansbury, who is
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, who is purely coldly calculating every moment she's on screen. And I mean, if you go back and read the book, she's even worse.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
There's heroin abuse and incest and things like that. It gets really creepy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the way she portrays it on screen is just phenomenal. Again, this is one of those classics where you really need to go back and watch it because of her, because she's just so good in the role. Again, even you see Meryl Streep in the remake, couldn't even touch Angela Lansbury's presence on screen. Even though Meryl Streep, like I said, plays the same role and plays it a little differently as Mrs. Shaw, this one is just frightening.
Wow.
And I mean, it's terrifying to know that there are these kind of people in the world who really could ascend to that level of power.
Yeah.
Because of their lust for it.
Yeah.
And at the cost of everything, including their kids.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely horrible. And that definitely makes the list for sure. And so I've been kind of teasing this the whole episode, but now it's time for me to reveal and let you know something about this. This isn't necessarily the first of this kind. It was right after it, though. Only a year before, there was a movie called Hathaway that talked about child abuse of kids in the child of the Hathaways. But this movie, 1981, we're talking about Faye Dunaway's turn as Joan Crawford in the movie Mommy Dearest. Now, a lot of people, even if they've never seen the movie, know the most famous line about the wire hangers, right? But here's the interesting thing about this. This movie is showing you, I guess when it first came out, when they first wrote the script, and by the way, this had seven different writers on it, okay? It went through 18 that we know of different rewrites because they were so afraid that because it was taken from the book written by Christina Crawford, the daughter who suffered through all this, who was an adopted daughter and all this. People said there's no way she could have been that witchy. There's no way that she could have been that. So people just didn't want to believe, because you're talking about Hollywood Golden Age star Joan Crawford here. And it's like, up until this point, no one had really seen or heard or anything like this at all. So is this just bad blood by a child that's trying to get back at mom because something happened? Or was this true? So there was the controversy there before they could even get it out into filming and to get to that place. Now, they wanted to get Anne Bancroft first to play the role because she does look a lot like Faye Dunaway. I mean, Joan Crawford, but Faye Dunaway does too as well. But she was kind of hinging on it, Bancroft, because when she read the script, she's like, there's no way this is Joan Crawford. There's no way that she's this evil. Like, this seems way over the top. So Frank Perry, the director, said, well, if she's going to do that, I need to hedge my bet. So he started talking to Dunaway, and he knew that Dunaway looked up to, Crawford. So he thought, well, this will be pretty good. We could do the right makeup and make this work, right? And believe it or not, even Sigourney Weaver was thought about in this role, and there were a few others. Yeah, she was thought about. They didn't ask her yet because Faye Dunaway went ahead and accepted way before Bancroft said, "No, I won't do it." So what you have now is this movie, then, if we're going to go by whether it's true what Christina wrote or is this just anger, but if Christina wrote this about her mom, her adopted mom, you see some horrible things. One of the things that you see is there's a time where she's playing in front of a mirror trying to play dress up because her mommy's an actress, so she's playing dress up. And Joan Crawford comes in and is angry because she didn't get a certain role because she's aging, and how Hollywood is about that. She comes in and she starts screaming at her, and then she takes out scissors and starts cutting off her hair so that she wouldn't look beautiful as she was trying to play like a beautiful model in it. That's one. She tries to make her scrub the floor really hard with all this powder and all this stuff, and she gets down and she's screaming and she's yelling, she's losing her mind, right? She's telling off the men in the film because they're trying to tell her the honest truth. Like, Joan, you're not in the top anymore. There's younger people coming up. Well, aren't you just a selfish, money-grubbing lawyer? Like, she would just turn on you, right? And so But then, of course, you get back to Christina again, where the maids have to come in and stop her from beating her. And then, of course, the famous scene where she gets the hangers and she says, "You don't hang $300 clothes on a silly wire hanger," and chases her down and beats the stew out of her. So the problem was, is this fake? Could she really fake all this? Or is this really true? If this is true, then what has happened to Joan Crawford is what people were thinking just by reading this. And then when we see it depicted. So Dunaway said, she's a friend, so can we at least try to put some sort of levity in here as well to show that she's just not this crazy person that y'all are trying to pitch her out to be? And that's why she signed on. She didn't know that what would happen is they weren't going to change that script, because the director said, well, this is something that's never really been covered in Hollywood, which is child abuse. So from that perspective, I think we need to keep all this in, and we need to leave it there. So if you know anything about Faye Dunaway, she is a method actor. So when she gets into it, she stays in the role. And so when you see these scenes, you see the rage, you see the anger, you see the insanity. When she grabs that hanger, you know she means to do harm to this child. When she cuts that child's hair off and she's almost clipping ears because she's cutting so close. And they said in the real filming of the movie, there was a scene where she has to choke Christina. And they said that they had to run out there because they felt like she was holding the choke too long, because that's how Faye Dunaway was getting so into the scene and doing it. And she even says many days after this that this was the one movie that took a lot out of her. In fact, after the hanger scene, a lot of people don't know this, she collapsed not long after that scene. It is one of the most intense scenes ever in a film, because you believe every bit of the wide-eyed, the frantic brow, the delirium, the way she clutches that hanger like she's almost tearing it up in her hands as she's getting ready to use it as a weapon. She collapsed, and they had to stop filming for a little bit because she was that zapped just doing that one scene, right? And so then the history then becomes of this film is that people started to watch it and they were laughing and having fun because they thought it was camp. They thought there was no way she could be like that. They thought it was so over the top.
Yeah, it's still a cult classic.
It's still a cult classic, absolutely. And so now today it's really big with drag queens and gay men really see Joan Crawford more than Faye Dunaway, but there always are references to this hanger, and people actually laughed, right? Because they thought, well, that's kind of funny. Nobody could really be like that. That's how her role, how she played the role. She played it so good that people just was like, and then it became funny. And then she had to go on tour talking about, no, I don't hate Joan Crawford. I'm playing her to the T from how I knew her, and this is the script. And of course I wanted things in there. I didn't know how it was going to be edited down to where it almost seems like scene after scene after scene.
Yeah.
It's just who could be that vile and that evil? And so here's a role that's so, angry, so believable and lived in that people said it can't be true. No way someone's that evil. And how would we not?
No, how could you be that terrible to your kids?
Yes.
How could you be terrible to other human beings?
Absolutely.
How could you be that terrible of a human being?
Yes. And the only thing that came up, Johnny, that made sense, that they said, well, if you think about the time, in Hollywood, women were treated horribly back then. And as soon as you didn't look as cute anymore, you were gone. One wrinkle, you're gone. And so the theory is that maybe Joan Crawford, while she may not have been as bad as she was portrayed, she got into some of that because the one thing that she made most money off, she was poor. She came from nothing. She was an artiste for sure, Joan Crawford, to where she got there, to where now that she could just be put to side like nothing. Because as a younger model, that has some anger issues that you could take that out on somebody. So they could believe that part of it. So a big part of this film was people debating whether was that really her or not. And it depended on who you listen to as to who you would believe. But no one can take away from the fact that Faye Dunaway, when you see that, you don't see rage like that. Screw, to your point, screw Thanos, screw Darth Vader, screw all of them. You ain't seen rage till you see this rage. Even Joker's rage doesn't match the rage here, because she could go at any moment, at anything, and anything could set her off, and then she could go take a bath and soak and be all prim and pristine and all this kind of stuff, and then show up in front of people like, I'm still Joan Crawford. I'm still that great actress that you love.
Right.
She had this duality.
Yeah. Putting on that calm exterior to basically play that calm person.
Yeah.
When she's a boiling pot of rage.
Yeah. And to think that, again, that somebody could do that, because she adopted Christine, and then she adopted a boy, and then there were two twins that she had. And so one thing that we do know that buttressed Christina's story about her mom, her adopted mom, was that when it came time for the will, she left money for the two twins and said, Christina and Christopher will know why I'm not leaving them money. Joan Crawford wrote that. And so that led everybody to believe, okay, then this has got to be true if she's willing to do that. Like, she left them nothing. Christina and Christopher, the one who was adopted after the boy. And the idea that she's still getting children, the fact that people will still let her, right? Because she's got these two and then these two twins. And so, can you imagine?
It's hard to imagine until you actually see the film, because Faye Dunaway plays it just so over the top. Yeah. And you let that shit go, and that's a director who let that shit go. But yeah, and you can't portray it, that you can't get that performance out unless you really let that actress go.
That's true.
So
that's true.
it is a physical and frightening movie, man.
It in so many ways.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here stunned listening to it all, and yet we have modern examples of that happening all the time with actors, because we've got cell phones and all sorts of other things these days. We get to see it happen almost live these days.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Christian Bale, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
His meltdowns. There's so many people.
Yeah.
You know, so,
well, they melt down a lot, but what I thought was great was that here, the director, I thought, had a good point when he said, hey, we've never really covered child abuse before, and if we're going to stop it, we got to put a spotlight on it. The only problem is he went maybe too far to saying, making almost every other scene, you know, just like that. It'd be like a King Kong Godzilla movie where there's no humans, it's just them fighting for 2 hours. At some point, you'd just be like, come on, right? Yeah. Even though we say we want that, we would still be like, if it was just 2 hours of just nonstop fighting and nothing, well, that's literally what he did here. It's just an hour and 54 minutes of just nonstop. Yeah. Who else can she snark the hell out of, or take something at them, or throw something at them, or just have to be held down by her house servants because she's so in a rage and so crazy. And when you watch this, you go, you just can't believe it. Like, I haven't seen it in a while, but I have to go back and watch it myself. But Faye Dunaway, I mean, this is ridiculously good, because you don't buy that. Okay, the reason why you get shocked by it is because you go, there's no way it could be that real. Nobody can capture that real. That's why people were so unnerved that they had to try to laugh to deflect. Yep. Because they're like, it just can't be. But the fact that Faye Dunaway could go there playing someone who did that, or some of these things, it's just puts you in another space in terms of acting. I think she's in rarefied air when you talk about this. And I think if you watch it, I don't think any other villain makes you feel like she could jump out the screen and get you.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel like you're in danger the whole time by living vicariously through those kids, and the way they shoot her, with the severe makeup and, and the harsh lighting and things like that. It really is a monster brought to life. Yeah. Okay. I can't end the show on that now. I can't.
Nope,
I can't.
That's all right.
Okay. So because we got a couple of minutes, I just want to kind of do an impromptu topic real quick.
Yeah.
Is there a film that your mom turned you on to that really kind of open your eyes to film? Because again, like I said, we get our first movies from our parents. Is there a film that your mom kind of turned you on to that kind of got your sense of humor, kind of made you love film? Is there a film that your mom gave to you that you really dug?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Actually, for me, my mom actually did that quite a lot. I would say that, I can think of a dozen films that my mother was always very excited about, and always wanted to watch with me. But I would say that the two that really stick out the most for me that I actually really enjoyed and got into were Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and Pete's Dragon.
Nice. That was a big one with my parents too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, my mom loved watching like Apple Dumpling Gang and anything with Don Knotts. My mother loved. So The Incredible Mr. Limpet,
Barney Fife.
Those. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Wow.
Pete's Dragon was
the thing. Yeah. My mom, she turned me on to The Count of Monte Cristo, because that was one of her favorite books.
Nice.
And also Les Mis. Les Miserables, because there's parts of that where it deals with the French. My mom is French, and so there's parts of that where she said it touched her as a little girl when
Yeah.
she saw it, because of how, if in those days, if you had a child out of wedlock, you know, boy, that was like the biggest sin ever. And so what women would do to try to hide that, and how they could be pushed off. And so she related a lot to Les Mis, a lot in certain areas, not just because it's French. And so every year when Les Mis comes out, we always go watch it. And then of course the Count of Monte Cristo was one of my favorite as well.
Yeah,
That she showed me. So, and that was about hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Really cool.
So my parents always kind of got that I was kind of a dark, weird kid.
No, not you.
So my mom gave me Harold and Maude. You know, a really weird, you know, May December film, you know, where the kid just on screen just makes up ways to kill himself and he's not really doing it. And just that weird kind of dark sense of humor combined with that, you know, weird, you know, love has no bounds type thing. The other film she gave me was The Blues Brothers. I watched it because of my mom. I watched that film at least 3 or 4 times a year. Because, you know, like I said, it gave me a love of great music and great comedy. John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd. It started my love for the National Lampoon guys who kind of came down the pike and kind of formulated that sense of humor. So, like I said, I had a mom who really just kind of got that I was gonna have that weird, quirky sense of humor, and really kind of just fueled the fire and said, "Here you go. Yeah, we get you. We've got you." Yeah. So,
No, that's a great question, by the way. And for you guys watching out there, what film, since I know we had to talk about the worst since we've done the best, what films did your mom share with you? And put it in the comment section, and you know, we'll make sure we comment and tell you what we think about that as well. So I guess to that point, we're at the shout outs time of the show. So Johnny, who you shouting out this week?
I mean, pretty obvious. Got to give a shout out to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Love it.
yeah.
Love it. Awesome. How about you, K-Zach? Who you shouting out to?
we will go ahead and shout out, of course, you know, I do miss my mom on this day. And, of course, like I said, I'll shout out my own mother-in-law, Gloria. Thank you guys for taking me into your home and making me family. Speaking of family, I do want to, like I said, give our love to the folks who give us a home here every Sunday here on DallasOnAir.com for your Talking Nerdy to Me Sundays. That's Jansen and Kat. And of course, check out all the shows here on DallasOnAir.com, including our counterparts on every other Sunday. The Randcore Pit Live and Isle of Toys with Cole Houston. Check out Fan and Wife with Eddie and Colleen Medina. Check out Figments, the Unexplained Mysteries podcast, Best for Business, 12-pack, all the great stuff. Say Something, just all the cool stuff that we have here on this network. Because like I said, we are a big family. We really do love bringing you the best podcasts here from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So check us out here, everything DallasOnAir.com. Make us your friend on Facebook, and of course, share what we do here so we get to grow that audience and grow that family a little bigger.
That's it. And so same thing here. I'm going to follow suit. I'm going to definitely say big shout out to moms who, right after this, I'm shaving and getting out of these street clothes, and we're going to go have a great Mother's Day lunch or brunch or whatever they're calling it these days. So that's for sure. And I'll shout out my sister. She's a great mom to my nephew and my niece. So she does a great job. She's a good mom. She's nothing like the moms on this list here. And then, of course, the standards. I want to give out the shout out to Brandy and Barry Austin and Sean Presley, Troy Ross, Lauren Wiedauer, Tristan Frazier, and of course Scott Laney and Sandra, and then Stephanie Crane as well. So those are my shout outs. So that's it. That's our episode. We talked about mothers, this time the mother of the mothers. Watch your mouth, of course. And go spend some time with your mom today. Let her know that you appreciate everything that she's done for you, the things that she's already done for you, the things that she has done for you, and the things that she's still going to do for you because she's mom.
And go watch a movie with her.
That's right. Go watch a good movie with her, but don't make it Mommy Dearest. No. We'll see y'all.